Hi guys, welcome to my channel. This is my first upload and I'm very sorry how casual it is, but if I don't do it today, I'm just never going to do it. So I'm going to be talking about life, all the good things. I really like to deep dive into, career, personal, friendships, love, everything like that. And my first upload today is going to be about pregnancy. So if you're coming across this, then let's start this journey together. I'm super excited for this next chapter in life, and I really hope that I'm able to share some of my stories that you might resonate with, and we can work together to go through all these things that we call life. So stay tuned, and we are going to go and talk about pregnancy. Thanks. Okay, so basically today I'm going to talk about how I got pregnant and my story regarding pregnancy. It's nothing super juicy, but it's just nice to sort of share these stories because I think with pregnancy, whether you're trying or not, it is such a confronting, overwhelming, exciting time in your life. And, you go through all these emotions, and only women who have gone through it or are wanting to go through it can really understand. So I just basically wanted to share my story. So basically, I never really was maternal growing up. And when I say that, it's just more like I knew I was going to be a mum and I knew that I was going to have kids one day. But I never really envisioned myself being pregnant. The thought of being pregnant really scared me, having this huge belly and especially birth. So yeah, I love visualization, I love manifestation, and just for some reason I could just never picture myself with a big pregnant belly. So going through all the pregnancy motions now is just like new every day. I'm 20 weeks now, so halfway there, and yeah, so I've been in a few long-term relationships, and again was more focused on like getting engaged and doing that whole chestnut thing. So when I did fall pregnant, it was a bit of a shock. So I've been with my partner Mark for about nearly 3 years now. So we actually met in the pandemic, and then I came off the pill about a year ago. It was like October, or maybe it's more than a year. It must be like a year and a half or something. And he was really supportive of me coming off. I was like, look, a lot of my friends are figuring out that they've got PCOS or endometriosis and they can't get pregnant. I think that I just want to come off the pill and just like stabilize my hormones and just, not to see if we can get pregnant, just for basically me to like re-stabilize my hormones. And he was totally on board, and he was like, look, if I was a female, I wouldn't want to be putting hormones in my body either. So I got put on the pill when I was about 14 because my periods were so heavy, like disgustingly heavy. Like it would be 7 days and I would be wearing double pads, bleeding through and everything like that. So, I was starting to get worried that I did have something like PCOS or endo because, I was going through these really horrible periods. And just before I did get pregnant earlier in the year, after COVID, and I don't know if this has got anything to do with COVID, but I got a period, and it was so painful to the point where I was like, this is just not normal. This is not normal to be in this much pain. It's ridiculous. So I actually came off the pill with one of my second partners, and I was off it for a couple years, and I remember I'll just be heavy for 2 days and then it'll go away. And then when I tried it again, it just was so bad. I wasn't mentally prepared for it. So I went back on the pill pretty much straight away. And then, yeah, this third time that I came off, I was like, no, I need to, mentally prepare. I need to sort of go through the motions. So, I would experience really bad cramping and all that stuff. But it wasn't until one of my close friends found out she had really bad endometriosis, and she actually had a pregnancy loss. And, she's a bit younger than me because I'm 30. So she was like, I'm so happy that I found this out now that I'm like younger instead of if I was older and I realized that I had this. And she was like, would you ever be interested in looking into it? And I was just like, I'm not mentally prepared to dive into that wormhole of figuring out that I got something wrong with me. I was like, I'm not thinking about pregnancy. I'm not, that's in a few years' time, potentially. If it happens, it happens. Like, I think my mental health will just not be that good if I was to start trying to find issues when I'm not really in that mindset. But a few months passed, and more people coming up to me saying they've got PCOS and endo, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just feel like people our age are just having all these issues, and people saying it's from the contraceptive pill and la 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 la. So I actually went to my doctor and I said to her, look, I have really bad periods, and my partner and I are thinking of having kids in the next 3 years potentially. What can I do? Can I get my hormones checked to see if anything major pops up? Now, I did think potentially I had PCOS because I get really dark hairs, a few mustache hairs and stuff. So that wasn't like a surprise to me. So the first doctor I saw, she said my symptoms sounded very similar to endometriosis, but she was like, that doesn't mean you're going to be infertile. And the only way to really diagnose that is to do surgery. So we'll do the hormone test and then we'll go from there. And I was like, all right, cool. So we did that. And then I got my results back with another female doctor. And she was like, I spoke to her again about my symptoms. And she goes, well, your testosterone is high on your blood test. So she goes, I'm actually going to give you a referral for an ultrasound to see if you've got any cysts or anything like that. So I thought, okay, good, but still wasn't eager to go and rush and do an ultrasound. It's just I had that paper there, so when I did feel ready, at least I could go and do it, And then I had the conversation with Mark, and I was like, look, like a lot of my girlfriends are having issues getting pregnant. There is a potential possibility that this could be for us as well. Like, we might not be able to get pregnant, or it might be really hard. Like, how do you feel about it? And he was super supportive, and he was like, look, like, let's just go with the flow. I've always been open to adoption, or, we'll go down different routes. Like, we'll just figure it out as we go along, but I'm here to support you, and we'll just go with it. So I was like, all right, cool. Like, that just took a lot of pressure off as well, just having that convo about kids and just the potential risk of it being quite hard to conceive. And then I think a month later, because he's FIFO, he came home and we did the deed. And I think like 7 weeks later, I found out I was pregnant. So it just kind of happened really weird timing, but fast timing. And yeah, so it's funny how things all align. So he works 2 and 1, so he's not even home half the time. And then my period app wiped all my ovulation, my high fertile dates or whatever. I'm sorry, I get really bad allergies. But I remember from like when it used to tell me, it was always like the first day of the month I was the most fertile. But my app had wiped out. I don't know if I had to subscribe to the paid version and I was on the free version. So I can enter in my period and like symptoms and stuff like that, but I couldn't see when I was ovulating. So this particular time we had this convo, I did my blood test, and then the one time we're like, let's just not worry about it in the moment. And yeah, when I look back on the date, it was like the first day of the month. He just flew back home. We decided, let's just do it. So the stars all aligned for me to get pregnant. But then the mental hurdle I had after that was, because I never got really, like, my symptoms were just the same as like period symptoms. I had a bit of cramping, my boobs were getting a bit sore. The only thing that really started to become a red flag was I was a week late, which again wasn't a red flag for me, but I was then thinking, what was I sprayed hairspray and I gagged a little bit, and I was like, interesting. And then what was the other one? I can't even remember. Oh, my boobs just wouldn't stop hurting. When you're getting your period and they'll hurt for like a week, and then you get your period and then you're fine. This was like 3 weeks of pain, and I would move, and I just remember I couldn't even turn around. They were so sore, and I don't have big boobs, so I was like, this is freaking painful. So I said to Mark, because I never really did pregnancy tests. I think I've done like 3 in my whole life. And every time I've usually been like, oh, it's just a peace of mind thing. I didn't actually think I was pregnant. But this time I was like, I think I could be pregnant. And I remember messaging him, and I was like, Mark, I think I'm pregnant. And he was like, yeah, give me that baby. Like, we were joking around with it. I was like, wow, he's really on board. You know, it kind of eased my mind with it. And then I did the pregnancy test, which is actually on my TikTok. When I found out, I filmed it, and 10 seconds, boom, red. It was, you're pregnant. And obviously I've never gone through that before. I've never been pregnant before. I've never thought for serious I was pregnant. And then when it came up as the red strong 2 lines, I had a panic attack. I was like, oh my God. I was like, what the fuck? And then Mark wasn't there. He had no reception, so he was on site. I was at home by myself because I work from home. So I was by myself just thinking like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Luckily 2 of my best friends are pregnant at the same time. So I called my best friend, and I was in tears, and I was like, I just found out I'm pregnant. And she was like, oh my gosh, you need to come over right now. And she was really reassuring and all that jazz. But the thing is, Mark and I couldn't really like get excited about it. Oh, that's another thing. Then I told him, so I called him, and I was like, Mark, I'm pregnant. Like I called him, and it just like it just rung out because he had no reception. And then he finally picked up, and I was like, yeah, it came back positive. And he was like, what? He was like, are you joking? And I was like, I'm not joking. Like, we've been just saying that we were having a baby. And he was like, I thought you were joking. Like, you always think you're dying and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, because I'm a hypochondriac. So, and then that was fine. Like, the shock wore off, and then we're like, all right, this is good. You know, there was a moment where I thought I wasn't going to go ahead, but it was like a split, like 10-minute moment where I thought, you know, I'm going to book the appointment and take the tablet, just because Mark freaked out and I freaked out. I was like, I'm not doing this by myself. Like, I'm so overwhelmed right now. And then he was like, no, he's really, really good. And I was like, okay, yeah. And I said to my girlfriend, I was like, my youth. She's like, Chelsea, you're 30. What do you mean? Like, this is when you have babies. So anyway, that was just like a whole lot of emotion. So if you go through that, don't feel guilty. Do not feel guilty. And I think we need to normalize that it's okay to feel like you've got one way or the other. And I love that Australia, we do have that option. If you're not ready, you're not ready. And I believe in spirituality as well, and that baby would never, ever judge you for what you choose to do either. So, but that's my opinion, and that's another story. So finally, we were both okay with it. We're like, yep, okay, we're going to go through with this. But we just couldn't get excited because every single person, his sister, like my best friend's my sister, like everyone we know had a miscarriage, and especially recently because we're getting to that age where people are trying. So we were just like, we don't even know if this is going, like, we're going to do our dating scan and this is just going to even be anything. And then we had a holiday booked in Bali, so we did a trip to Bali for a week. And I said to him, I was getting really bad morning sickness, and then it just went away after a week. And I was like, is that my hormones dropping? I don't know. So then I started to worry, and I thought, like maybe nothing's growing in there, because I just don't feel pregnant anymore. Like, my boobs stopped hurting, like I wasn't being sick anymore. Because once I found out I was pregnant, I weirdly started getting morning sickness for the whole week. So I don't know if it was psychosomatic, where I just talked myself into it, but then I did actually get really bad morning sickness for the first trimester. But we got back from Bali and had our dating scan the next day. We had the doctor's appointment. She called me and she was like, yep, your hormones and everything like that, because I had to do all the blood tests right before we went to Bali. So we just found out, I did the blood test, we went to Bali, and then came back and had our dating scan booked. So she called me in the morning and she was like, yep, so your hormones are high, so it means, you know, you are pregnant, basically, from that blood test. Again, didn't realize that doesn't really mean something, because my girlfriend had a blood test and it said she had really strong high hormone levels, and then she miscarried. So I don't know, it's just so hard, everyone's different. So I thought, oh, okay, like, so for a second I thought, okay, like, we're really pregnant, and then someone's like, oh no, but that was me and I got, you know, I had a miscarriage. So just don't listen to everyone. And then we had the dating scan, and I remember laying there and I had my eyes closed, and she was like, what's wrong? And I was like, I'm just really nervous. And she's like, oh, are you, you know, wanting to keep it? And Mark's just like, yes, she's just nervous, because I just didn't want them, they put the big screen up. And I'm like, can you check first if there's a heartbeat before you have it on this like huge 3D screen? Like, I don't want to see you put something on there and like there's nothing there. But she did it, and then was able to find a heartbeat, and then, you know, it is scary. But yeah, and then now I'm 20 weeks. So we have our 20-week scan this Thursday. So I might do a little reel or something like that just to update you guys. But this is my first post. Pregnancy story. Not the best video. I promise I'll do better next time. But I'm just going to pop out content and then just hope for the best. So thanks, guys.